welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for October the 24th of 2019, and boy, do we have some news to break down today. My name's Samuel Adams. This is a daily gaming news podcast that I host 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia, or you can find the show on tons of various podcast platforms through anchor.fm/JampackReport. Also, there is a written digest on medium.com/JampackReport, but links for all of that can be found down below. Now, moving on to the news, Fallout 76 now has a premium subscription service. That's right, we'll break that down in its entirety because there's a lot you get with the service, but many of those elements should probably be included in the base game. And on top of that, the Twitter reaction was priceless. Man, you gotta love gaming Twitter. Then, Fortnite's season-ending event broke records on Twitter on top of Twitch and YouTube. We will talk more about the Season 10 finale. Ybarra is going to Blizzard. Google has opened its first Stadia studio. Rocket League is adding paid DLC for free. I mean, it's insane. Cats sleeping with dogs, tons of stuff happening into the world. You know how it goes. It's every day, bro, here on the Jampack Report. God, what am I even saying? Let's get into the show before it gets worse, shall we? Fallout 76 now has a $100 per year subscription service called Fallout First. Fallout 76 has revealed a new subscription service, Fallout First, which allows players to play alone in private worlds, among other things. Launching today and priced at $12.99 per month or $99.99 per year, Bethesda explains that a Fallout First membership gets you private worlds for yourself and up to 7 friends, a scrap box with unlimited storage for crafting materials, a survival tent that acts as a placeable fast travel point, 1,650 items a month for the game shop, an exclusive Ranger armor outfit, and unique icons as well as emotes. Only the owner of a private world has to be a Fallout First member. The 7 other friends can be regular players, although the world will only stay active if at least one player is a First subscriber. Only existing characters can join a private world. Private worlds will have the same rule set as the public adventure mode, and it can't currently be changed. However, Bethesda promises that private worlds will get more features in the future, including the possibility of mod support. This is sure to be a divisive move. Bethesda admits in its own announcement post that some of these features, private worlds, solo play, and mods in particular, have been requested since before the launch of the game. To release them under the proviso of a recurring payment will likely cause controversy, and boy did it, because Twitter was ablaze with people talking about Fallout 76, Fallout First, and Bethesda. In fact, all three were trending at one point during the day on my feed. And that's saying something. This has been quite the game, because at launch the game had issues, to say the least. Of course, it was the first foray into the online world with a Fallout game. They did have some experience with Elder Scrolls Online, but the crossover between those two teams is yet to be seen. I'm sure that some people know more than I do, but I would assume that there were still some hardships on the back end. Eventually, a lot of that got ironed out. There are still plenty of bugs and issues with the game, but overwhelmingly it does run fairly decently, at least for many people's standards. Then we had the announcement of the Wastelanders update, which was supposed to come out around this time this year, which allowed tons of interaction with NPCs, something that was absent from a Fallout game for the first time in, ever. So there was that. But on top of that, that ended up getting pushed back to 2020. In its place, we have the debut of this $100 per year subscription service, $12.99 per month, mind you, that does give pretty much a lot of features that people have been wanting since the start of the game. Now, with that being said, part of me understands why this has to be paid, because servers aren't cheap. You have to actually have, space rented out. It does take money to get stuff online, and so to have your own private world, I don't know the logistics of that on the back end, but that definitely does cost a chunk of change. And so at the end of the day, you can pay pretty much $12.99 a month to get access to private worlds, which allow you and 7 friends to explore the wasteland of post-apocalyptia. Is that what it's called? Whatever you want to call it. It's the post-apocalyptic Appalachia. That's what we're trying to say here. Now, of course, there are other features that get added to the game on top of 1,650 items per month, including stuff like unlimited storage and a survival tent here, along with exclusive cosmetics and whatnot. But overwhelmingly, the reaction to this was one of absolute disgust on Twitter, because people thought Fallout 76 is a fledgling, horrible experience. Why would anybody want to pay for this? What is Bethesda thinking? This is not player-friendly, etc., etc. And I made a point on Twitter that I want to reiterate here. Bethesda is not targeting the overall gaming community. Trying to get people to come into Fallout 76 is not what is happening with this specific announcement, and I think going forward, you're going to be seeing more of these announcements that tailor themselves directly to the Fallout 76 community. Because right now, I don't think anybody is going to be going back and picking up this game anytime soon if you aren't already playing the game. There are so many new games coming out. The Outer Worlds is a beautiful open-world RPG that has tons of elements that you would expect from a classic Bethesda or / Obsidian game, since it is being, an Obsidian game. But with that being said, this is Todd Howard going whaling, because there are so many people that do sit down on a daily to weekly basis and play Fallout 76 for hours on end. Those are the people that Bethesda is targeting. Those are the people that will pay $12.99 per month or $100 per year to get access to tons of in-game stuff for Fallout 76 and to get access to stuff like private worlds to explore for yourself. They don't mind, because Fallout 76 is their Netflix. Fallout 76 is their Hulu. Even if you don't use these services on a day-to-day basis, you still know you will always come back to them, and it's nice to know that that is there. This, again, is not for the overall gaming community. They don't expect you to pick up Fallout 76 at your local mom-and-pop gaming shop and then come home and pick up Fallout first. No, they want to keep the people that are playing continually coming back time and time again. And with a steep discount for the year-long subscription, they're really trying to bank on that first $100 to get you, if you are a player, into the realm. But with that being said, Fallout First, a premium subscription model coming to Fallout 76 starting now, and you can find it on platforms where Fallout 76 is available. The reaction on Twitter, that was priceless. It truly was. But with that being said, Fortnite's season-ending event broke social media records because we saw tons and tons and tons of viewers across various platforms. Twitch has confirmed that Fortnite now owns the service's record for concurrent views for a single game, as 1.7 million people watched the game go offline just ahead of its current Chapter 2 season. More than 4 million people tuned in across various streams on YouTube, according to the company, and at one point hit 4.3 million concurrent viewers, according to a tweet from YouTube's global head of gaming and virtual reality, Ryan Watt. Twitter also reports that the event is now the most viewed gaming event on that social media platform, with 1.4 million concurrent viewers, and video of the event eventually saw 42.8 million views with 50.7 million minutes watched. None of these numbers should come as a surprise to anyone who paid attention to the event on October the 13th, which eventually crashed Twitch and caused Reddit to slow to a crawl. The world's most popular game runs in seasons that usually span around 3 months each. For the last year, each season has ended with an online live event to transition into new changes. Developer Epic Games chose to close its 10th season with a literal big bang, sucking the entire ecosystem into a virtual black hole. The game stayed down for maintenance for nearly 2 days before returning to its current Chapter 2 phase. By comparison, the League of Legends World Championship, regarded by many as the Super Bowl of esports, drew almost 100 unique million viewers for the 4-hour event in South Korea last year. I'm pretty sure this should be 100 million unique viewers. Fortnite has typically topped the streaming charts as the world's most viewed game, with League of Legends closely behind. More than 300 million hours of Fortnite has been watched on Twitch during the last year's second quarter, according to an analytics report from Stream Elements. But with that being said, oh my goodness, this was absolutely massive. I mean, you can tell whenever something is going to be record-breaking when people like me tune in. I don't really care about Fortnite that much anymore. Of course, with the launch of Chapter 2, I did have to see what was up. I dove in, checked out the game for a while. Now, it's been uninstalled yet again. With that being said, I was very curious as to what would happen after the black hole, and of course, during the black hole. You had YouTubers analyzing the black hole, trying to figure out what the codes mean. You had so much attention being paid to literally nothing that it's no surprise that it was a record breaker for Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. But I think the most notable piece of content from this specific piece is the fact that you do have tons of viewers on YouTube, specifically as compared to Twitch, because 1.7 million concurrent viewers watching Fortnite is nothing to shake a stick at. That is a ton of people. That is still a record being broken. With that being said, though, at the same time, you do have 4.3 million concurrent viewers on YouTube. That's a pretty notable amount of people, and that's a lot more than Twitch at the time. Of course, these numbers could be skewing one way or the other. You could have different instances. Of course, very complicated here. But at the same time, I think this shows the YouTube's younger demographic, because YouTube does tend to have a younger demographic, is much more invested in Fortnite as compared to Twitch. Because as the Chapter 1 began to kind of hit its stride, and as things began to become kind of monotonous with the first chapter of Fortnite, you began to see viewership decline, and that's something that everybody kind of noted. Major streamers stopped playing the game for extended periods of time. With things like Modern Warfare coming out this Friday, you might even see more streamers jumping ship and playing some of the newer games, such as, again, Modern Warfare: The Outer Worlds. There's a big update coming to Battlefield 5. You could be seeing more of that over the next few weeks. But I do believe that YouTube is probably going to become the hub for Fortnite content, and I think it could be argued that it actually is as of now. But with that being said, tons and tons of people watching on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter by far. Man, what an event that was. If there's one thing that can be said about Epic Games, it's that they know how to end off a season for a live service game, because every single season has been mind-blowing for fans, and I think that's very cool. It keeps people invested, it keeps people interested, and it keeps me talking about it on this show. Now, of course, a couple of weeks back, we talked about Mike Ybarra leaving, of course, his position at Xbox as vice president, but now he has joined Blizzard as not only vice president, but also general manager. Former Xbox executive Mike Ybarra has announced his next job, and it's a big one. Ybarra confirmed on Twitter that he will join World of Warcraft and Overwatch studio Blizzard. He will be the company's executive vice president and general manager. He starts at Irvine, California-based company on November the 14th, which is after BlizzCon, though he will attend the show. Quote, "We will work with all our energy to serve gamers with incredible content and experiences," Ybarra said of his new role. "I can't wait to be part of this team." Ybarra formerly worked on Microsoft for nearly 20 years. He most recently served as vice president at Microsoft, a position he held from January 2017 until he left in early October. Ybarra joins Blizzard at a tumultuous time for the company. Blizzard recently came under fire for the actions it took against a professional Hearthstone player who expressed support for the ongoing protest in Hong Kong. Although Blizzard reinstated the player's prize money and reduced his ban, that hasn't ended the controversy. A group of lawmakers, both Democrats and Republicans, wrote a letter to Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick to express their concerns about Activision pursuing financial interest ahead of freedom of speech. Many are calling for Blizzard to address the ongoing controversy at BlizzCon next month, though it remains to be seen if the company will. The company is also expected to announce Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, and of course you can find the latest on GameSpot, as well as my show, The Jampack Report. But with that being said, big news here, because Mike Ybarra is a man with a lot of talent, a lot of history in the world of gaming. And to his, credit, he did drive a lot of Xbox's success over the course of the last decade or so. So good on him for taking the opportunity to jump ship and head over and try a new career path. I wish him the very best. But right now, Blizzard, a very controversial studio. We talked about it on yesterday's episode, which talked about the fact that 6 mystery announcements are going to be coming to BlizzCon 2019, if you do want to check out that episode of the Jampack Report. But hey, when you've got the opportunity, I suppose you have to take it, and I'm very curious as to what the next steps for him will be, what changes will be made, where he will lead the company over the course of the next few years. But without a doubt, exciting times for Mr. Ybarra. Wish you the best on that one. However, Google has a brand new Stadia studio dedicated to making Stadia games, as you would expect. Google has announced its Stadia Games and Entertainment division back in March, confirming its intention to make good on its promise for original content alongside second and third-party games for its streaming platform, Stadia. Now the first studio, and there will be more, has opened in Montreal, headed up by Jade Raymond, who in a blog post reiterated the company's plans to produce exclusive original content across a diverse portfolio of games. There is no word yet on any of the titles slated for the platform, which is due to arrive before the year is out, but its latest announcement does at least reassure interested parties that the wheels are in motion to ensure Stadia gets a consistent content flow. Stadia is a relatively new concept in gaming, so it won't be an automatic destination for games from other studios. By making its own games, Google is making a pretty significant commitment to what is essentially a fledgling gaming platform. And so we have the beginning of what very well could be the start to Google Stadia's legacy. Because make no mistake, when it gets stuff like Doom Eternal, when it gets stuff like The Witcher, when it gets stuff like these big, massive games like Cyberpunk 2077, that's all well and good. But those games are also coming out on the PlayStation 4, on the Xbox One. Those are playable on PC. You don't need Google Stadia to play these games. The games being developed for Stadia at studios like the one Google has open now, that's what's going to define the legacy of Google Stadia, and essentially the exclusives are what will prove if this thing is going to stick around for the foreseeable future, because I think streaming does have a place in modern gaming, and I think especially as we inch further and further into the future, where understandably, justifiably good internet connections are available to everybody, that's when you're going to be able to see the big dog come in and say, hey, streaming is a thing, this is it, and Google wants to be that big dog. The big question is, can they pump out exclusive games to get people on board early on when that foundation, when those internet connections might be either on the boundary or below the threshold of expectation? Also, how exactly will it work? Will it be good enough for the modern gamer, or will you continue to go to Walmart, pick up your game, and play on your PlayStation 4 or even your PlayStation 5 if you live in a place like rural America where internet might not necessarily be as good as one of the cities on the coast? That is pretty much the main question that comes to mind. I also do want to say, you can't be making little small, match 3 games and stuff right here. You've got to be making some pretty beefy games. I need something that I look at and I say, okay, well, I'm buying a Stadia subscription now. That's what's going to happen. I need something that sells me right off the bat. I don't need it to be a timed exclusive. I don't need it to be something that is available on another platform. I need something that sells me instantaneously. And so that's what I'm sure they are working on right now over at Google. But exciting to see Stadia beginning to inch closer and closer to launch. And on top of that, we see Jade Raymond pumping out information about the first big studio to open making games for Google's streaming platform. However, Rocket League is adding its first 3 DLC packs to the base game later this year, if you didn't already have some of the best DLC packs to hit the game. I say that with the assumption that those are pretty good. I'd never really got into Rocket League aside from the first couple of years of its release. But with that being said, since its release in 2015, Rocket League has become a runaway success for its developer Psyonix, recently acquired by Epic Games. The game has come to most modern platforms and received a ton of DLC, and now some of its earliest DLC packs are going to be added to the basic version of Rocket League. The Winter 2019 roadmap for the game was unveiled today, and among other things, it confirms that Supersonic Fury, Revenge of the Battlecars, and Chaos Run are going to be added to the base game. Players originally had to pick up Rocket League Game of the Year Edition or buy the DLCs separately in order to get the content they obtained. While no date has been shared at this time, players will be able to boot up Rocket League and have immediate access to everything from Supersonic Fury, Revenge of the Battlecars, and Chaos Run before the end of 2019. As such, each of the DLCs and the Game of the Year Edition have been delisted from all storefronts, and anyone who bought the DLC between October 1st, 2019 and today will be able to get a refund from the platform holders of whatever storefront they bought the game on. While it is great to see all of that DLC getting baked into the game, Rocket League is also receiving some other new content and changes this winter. To start, Psyonix is giving players the ability to archive items no longer to appear in your main inventory tabs. Universal animated decals have also been unveiled as the main rewards for competitive Season 12. Frosty Fest was confirmed to be returning in mid-December and should bring a suite of new holiday-themed items with it. And to cap off today's announcement, Psyonix reiterated the item shop and blueprints update are still on their way, and that Rocket Pass 5 is poised to begin in December. We will be learning more about all 3 of those things over the next couple of months, but if you still haven't managed to try the game, it's out now for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, and by all means, I would highly recommend checking out Rocket League, a very, very fun game. The success of this game has always blown my mind because it launched, it was a PlayStation Plus game at launch. You could get it for free if you were a Plus subscriber, and that, I think, is really one of the initial, I suppose, matches, striking of a match that really lit the fuse that made Rocket League blow up on the gaming scene. I mean, now it is still a mainstay of gaming across PC, PS4, Xbox One, and, of course, Nintendo Switch. It really is an impressive title, and one that is simply just down-to-earth good fun. Also, I will say it's out on Game Pass Pass right now if you did want to check it out on your Xbox, if you happen to be a subscriber of that service. But to see the earliest DLC getting added to the base game for free, I think is fair enough. If you've had it for the past 4 roughly years, then you are good to go. You've got your money's worth out of those couple of bucks, and now give everybody else the opportunity to dive in and get the content. With that being said, I'm sure that these content packs probably weren't selling like hotcakes in 2019, so you might as well go ahead and throw them into the game for free if you do have the opportunity to do so. But tons of new content coming to the game, tons of in-game events, and again, congrats to Psyonix for absolutely killing it with Rocket League over the course of the past 4 years. Can't believe it's been over 4 years since that game launched. But speaking of games that are old, Left 4 Dead 2 is being brought back to life in Dying Light's crossover event. Left 4 Dead 2 represents the pinnacle of local co-op shooting, a frantic blast through hordes in the truest sense of zombies littered with scary as hell special foes like boomers and witches. Unfortunately, the series has lived up to its name, with the most recent entry being the now 10-year-old Left 4 Dead 2. Thankfully, fellow zombie shooter Dying Light seems to be resurrecting its co-op ancestor in some sort of crossover event with the Left 4 Dead 2 announced by Techland on Twitter. The post on the official Dying Light Twitter account is agonizingly vague, offering virtually nothing beyond an official confirmation that Dying Light and Left 4 Dead 2 are getting a crossover in some shape or form. There is an official poster featuring both games' logos, but outside of that, a small morsel of official material, we have nothing to go on. Dying Light already allows players to link up online for up to 4-player co-op play, so it is unlikely we will see a whole new game mode, especially now almost 5 years after Dying Light's release, and so near the release of Dying Light 2. It's easy to let your imagination go wild, but I soberly admit there's almost zero chance we will see something like the reimagining of the Parish campaign or even an individual chapter from Left 4 Dead 2. More likely, we will get some cosmetics, and if fortune's in our favor, we will enter a dimly lit building and hear the distant cry of the dreaded witch. And of course, I would say that's pretty much going to be on point with what to expect from this crossover event, which, don't get me wrong, that sounds like it could be pretty cool. I don't believe you are going to be seeing any kind of remade from the ground up kind of situation in this specific case, because quite frankly, Valve would not let that happen. So you're probably going to be getting a character cosmetic, something along those lines. I could see crossovers like boomers and witches making their way into the game, but it's good to see Left 4 Dead 2 getting at least some kind of traction in today's day and age, because the game is still a fantastic, phenomenal experience when it comes to the zombie shooter. But Dying Light 2, that game's going to be good. Can't wait for that one. But if you did want to pick up Dying Light, the game itself is totally worth playing, one of the best zombie games of the modern era, hands down. But Left 4 Dead 2 getting a crossover event for Dying Light in the next couple of months. But on top of that, speaking of crossovers, you can get your hands on brand new Tetris 99 Spirits in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's next event, starting today. Wait, sorry, tomorrow, it's Thursday. 2 Switch games we find ourselves going back to on the regular at Nintendo Life are teaming up this week. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will play host to the undisputed crossover king Tetris 99. After hosting its own series of events for games like Fire Emblem Three Houses and Splatoon 2, the popular BR game will finally get its own special event in the latest Smash Bros. Title. It's not just any old thing either. This one comes with 5 brand new spirits from Tetris 99. The event starts later this week on the 25th of October and will run for a total of 5 days. If you would rather play Tetris 99 instead of Smash, this Friday the online puzzle game is hosting a spooky Luigi's Mansion 3 Maximus Cup event where you can unlock an exclusive theme if you score 100 points. And so, if you do want to dive in and check out the spirits of these specific Tetraminos in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you can totally do that starting on Friday, or you can dive into Tetris 99 and get some Luigi's Mansion 3 action. But I love crossovers like this because there's no reason Tetraminos should be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but Nintendo has been very open, shockingly open, as of recent with their games and with their IP. And so considering just how big Nintendo's take is on Tetris 99, just considering how big the game itself is, to see this coming to the platform is really no shock. I think it's cool in and of itself. But again, if you do want to check it out, coming this Friday to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But with that being said, that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below if you are watching on YouTube. And on top of that, if you happen to be on a podcast service, first, thanks. Number 2, subscribe. Get the show delivered to you every single weekday. It's always a good time. And until tomorrow, you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. I will talk to you soon, and peace.